Hey guys, welcome back. I hope over the last week you've been able to take some of what we were talking about in part one of this conversation with Juan Bendana and put it into action for you. There was so much good stuff packed into that first part, and we have even more great, amazing things that are going to bring it full circle for you packed into part two. There are going to be the days when you don't do it, or you're just like, you're not there, but it doesn't mean you failed. You know, one day off doesn't mean failure. And getting back into that routine, I think, is so important. So I think, a lot of us know 21 days to create a habit, right? So I think, and I talk to my guys about this a lot, is a lot of times guys will come in, they're like, oh, I'm going to make this change and this change and this change and this change. And it's like, and then they don't make any of them because they're trying to do too much. And it's you got to do this for 21 days, cement the habit, then layer on. Do this for 21 days, cement the habit, then layer on. And I just my book that I read last quarter was Extreme Ownership.
Jocko.
And the very end of the book talks about discipline. And one of the things they talk about is what you were just mentioning, getting up early. So I shared my excitement back in September was a trip to Napa Valley that we had coming up. It was a great trip. We could chat about that if you want to get into wine at some point in this conversation. But since getting back from that, it's basically the most extended time period I've spent at home this year. So without being the disruption of always being off somewhere, I was actually really excited to build some momentum. And so I read the book. I think timing is like everything. I started setting my alarm for 5:45, then 5:30, and 5 o'clock. And when I don't set my alarm, I still wake up at 5 o'clock now because I've now done it for two months. My wife thinks I'm crazy. She likes to sleep in.
Yep.
And I'm like, look, I've been really enjoying the quiet time in the morning to get stuff done when employees aren't bothering me and you're still sleeping and the dog's in his crate. And, and I like it. And there are those mornings where it's like, I just don't want to get up this morning. But I think I've now formed the habit. So now I'm ready. And what I've let slip is exercise. Since our wedding in April, my exercise has been terrible. So talk about a wake up call. I had labs done recently and my cholesterol spiked above healthy range for the first time ever. And I have heart disease on both sides of my family. So now I'm like, okay, I gotta find a time, that I can take exercise with me and not let a trip disrupt that. I need to get into an exercise routine, and go for that. And I'm going to tie this into a pretty bow here because we just had forum training with an EO. We had a forum trainer come in, and the topic my forum picked was goals and accountability. And one of the things that really I learned in this, I never really thought about this, but tying your goals, relating your goals to something that is a core value for you makes the goal much more exciting to chase after, and also much more likely to accomplish. And you're going to hold yourself more accountable to it because it means something to you and it's not just a number. So I never thought about goals through the lenses of core values. I thought that was really fascinating. And, we wrote stuff down and I'm like, look, exercise has to be part of the daily practice. And it can't be reliant on a gym, and it can't be reliant on, needing to run in a place where I'm comfortable, or, it was been 20 degrees here in Philadelphia the last couple of days. So we got a cold plunge right out the door. But I walked home yesterday with it, and, so trying to figure out, can I take bands with me on a trip, and just have a routine that is portable so that it can be consistent and it can become lifestyle, and then add that next thing on, and then add that next thing on. And, we talked about happiness on a previous episode of this. Things don't make people happy. Being able to share things with important people make people happy. And it's about the people in your life and the relationships in your life more so than the things, because things are replaceable. People are not. If you have everything in the world but nobody to share it with, money doesn't make you happy.
No.
Money facilitates maybe some things, maybe takes some stress away. But ultimately, if you don't have anything to share things with, or anybody to share things with, those are the happiest people in the world. Yeah. Some of the happiest people have nothing but great relationships. So, and I don't know. That's some thoughts based on what you were just talking about.
Yeah, and it's funny to your point, because I do want to circle back on the happiness point, because I have something to share that I think will like blow your mind. It blew my mind. But in regards to the like habits and setting goals of something you want to do, I think tying it to values is really cool, because it's like these are the things that matter to me or important to me, so that of course this action I should do this because it's a reflection of what I value. I think a step further, and I'm currently reading a book right now called Alter Ego. It's my second time reading. It's extraordinary. And it talks about the psychology of personalities and essentially identity, where when you cross, and I actually talk about this in the book in Confident by Choice, where we call it the identity threshold. There's a moment where, because they've talked about the studies of it takes 21 days to build a habit. Some studies say it's 144. Some studies say it's 72 to 96. And I've found anecdotally, I've run into a lot of people that have done something for 200 days, and then on day 201, they fall off. Because the finish line was the goal, not the actual transformation.
Yeah.
So I think when it comes to like identity, it's really, how do you see yourself? And are you someone, for example, for me, I used to be the lazy, overweight, would sleep in constantly, hated working out, never really did person. And then I was like, I need to start doing something about it. And at the beginning, my friends I didn't even see myself as a fit person, and my family and friends surely didn't either. But once I started to like see myself as that person, and then more importantly, socially, people started to see me as, if I told any of my friends, hey, by the way, I was feeling super discouraged today. I didn't do a workout. I just didn't really feel like it. They'd be like, what have you done with our friend? This is AI. You captured him. What is going on? Because they know it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It's not like, regardless of if I'm flying from Texas to LA, I land at midnight, I get in at 3 a.m, sound check for YPO is at 6:30 in the morning. I will go to sound check, come back to the hotel, work out, then shower. Like, it's just not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, because it's become a part of who I am.
Yeah.
It's become, and then once, and it's really because we are such social beings that we will very much so conform to the social constructs that we most often are involved in. So if your friends and family start to see you a certain way, like for you, there's an identity when it comes to the way that you present yourself and the way that you're dressed, that if you showed up to work in track pants and a ripped shirt, like, there's no way that would happen. You don't need the habit of getting dressed well, because it's a part of your identity. It's a part of who you are, the way you see yourself and the way that others see you. So when you cross that like identity threshold where it's like, this is just kind of who I am. It's not a matter of, do I need to stick to this habit? It's not a matter of like, this is just who I am. And I think that's the point that it's really hard for a lot of people to get to, because it takes years to get to.
Well, like 10,000 hours to master something, right?
It takes time to get to a place where you can see yourself as like, yeah, I'm that person. For me, even though I lost all the weight in, I think it was like 7 months, I lost like 75 pounds. I still saw myself as an overweight person, even at 11, 12% body fat. It was the weirdest thing. I couldn't wrap my head around that I was this new person. It probably took me a year to like fully see myself as that. I just couldn't.
So that's an interesting point, right? Because not being able to see yourself as that person can actually lead to detrimental like obsession, right? You're like, oh, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. How'd you get through that? Like, was there something that just clicked one day? Like, I love therapy. Do you see a therapist who helps you like unlock it? Like, what is it?
Yeah, there was like, I think there's an initial transformation that happens, that occurs, right? Someone like loses weight, or they win a big business deal, or they, win an award, or like something happens. That initial transformation then needs to be followed up with integration. And like I knew, and I kind of knew this just like innately, I was like, okay, I lost the weight, but now I need to start doing the things that a fit and healthy person would do long enough that it becomes my new baseline, my new normal. So it was just that year, once I had like lost the weight and achieved the goal, I knew that was the beginning, if that makes sense. Like that was the start now. That wasn't the end. So before I saw most goals like that as the end. And now I see goals like that as the beginning. Now I'm at this place. Now here's what I need to do for the next year. I don't think I missed a day working out for the next 365. I did not take a break. This is not professional medical advice, but it probably wasn't the best thing. But even if it was, I'm going to go run on the treadmill for 30 minutes. I'm going to do a HIIT workout in this hotel on the carpet because there's no gym in this hotel and it's -10 outside. I'm going to do that. So I think doing that for a year, after that, I was just like, there's like, I am this person, you just make promises to yourself and you keep them for long enough that you see yourself as that person. And I think and then that's when, friends and people in your life and you start to kind of see you that way. They're like, of course you went to go work out. Of course you're coming back from a workout. And even my wife's family, like this, it's such a little example, but it really was big for me, like early on, where I would, it would be the holidays and all of her family would be here. And I would come home from the gym or I would be like, I'd be gone. And then I would come home and came home from the gym and everyone's kind of waking up and they'd be like, you were working out, weren't you? I was like, yeah. And they're like, of course you were. And I paid the assumption of behavior from other people reinforces identity so much. It is crazy. Like, of course and even with your 5 a.m. wake ups, of course you're awake. Like if you text me and it's like, and I'm in the gym and you send me a text, you're like, hey, like check out this, check out this thing. And you send me a text. I'm like, yeah, of course you're awake getting after it. Like if my friends text me at 6 a.m, they know, and this has happened over the past probably 90 days. They know, they're like, what are you currently training in the gym? Because they know I'm already there. They know I'm there.
Love it. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No, so as you were talking, I was thinking, okay, well, so you set a goal. The goal is the finish line, but it's really the starting line. Your old 20%, your new 20%, right? Mm-hmm. To kind of go along with that transition we were talking about earlier. So, but it's not really your new 20% because it's not a new goal. It just is actually a new life. It's just incorporating it into your lifestyle. And then the feedback from others. I'll bring a similar scenario with clothing. When people are in business casual offices, but they want to dress better. That's what I tell them. They are like, oh, I'm like, well, why don't you? And they're like, well, I don't want people to see me that way. I said, well, what's wrong with somebody seeing you as competent, trustworthy, successful, caring, intentional, right? And put together. Like, what in those characteristics is bad, right? And they're like, oh, well, they're asking me where I'm interviewing, or they think I'm making them look bad. I said, you are making them look bad because they're not making themselves look good, right? That's not your problem.
That's incredible.
That's their problem, right? And then I said, you're going to get that for a transition period. But if you keep it consistent, mm-hmm. what you're going to start to find is that management picks you when it's time for promotion, and those people that were giving you crap for it, when they have somewhere to go and they don't know how to put themselves together, they're going to come to you for advice. Like, you 100%. Now become the authority because you did something consistently that mattered to you and you went through that transition. So I said, like, you're going to get it. right? People are going to reflect to you at first, this is weird. You're different. Why are you making us look bad? So that's not a you problem. That's a them problem. A dress code really is a minimum requirement, right? And you come into work not meeting that dress code, management can say, go home, right? Go home and change. This isn't appropriate. It doesn't say anything about coming in better than the dress code. You're going to get people asking you why you dress so nice for a couple weeks. And then, like I said, you're going to then become the authority, and your work is going to change because you show up. Your mindset is actually prepared differently. This is something fun I share with people. I've shared this on a previous episode. But I want to tell you, because you could use this in your stuff, and I think you'll find it fascinating. But let me ask you a question. On average, do you know how many times a day you see your own reflection?
Oh, that's interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do Zoom calls and like those sorts of things count, or just the mirror?
Those count? I'm not going to. Yes, whatever. Okay. How many times a day do you think you see your own reflection?
I gotta think it's close to 50.
That's pretty close. So usually I get like 15, 20, 8. Somebody I think once said 130.
Oh my gosh.
On average, we see our own reflection 55 times a day.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, people usually guess so low because consciously we only see our reflection and recognize it probably less than that. But if you walk by a window with a display in it and you're looking at the mannequin in the window, there's a reflection, and your subconscious brain, all of the iceberg below the water that powers so much that we don't even realize, catches that reflection. And so when we dress well and when we walk out the house in the morning, we should be looking in the mirror saying, is everything right? Right. And when we do that and we say, yes, it's right, we cement the confidence for the day that we're ready, we're prepared, and we're going to go take things on. When we see our reflection throughout the rest of the day, it is saying, yes, I'm ready. Let's go. Let's take it on. Versus when you look in the mirror and you're like, I forgot that sport coat was at the dry cleaner and I really was looking forward to wearing it today. I just don't have my game with me. 55 times more a day, your brain is telling you, you don't have your game today. So there's really no like level set. You're either up or down in your own brain 55 times throughout the day, reinforcing positive or negative. And that's why dressing well changes that behavior. It sets it in your mind. Now, those are pictured reflections. I talk about people being reflections as well, right? We talked about the compliments you receive earlier. People reflect the warmness of how they welcome you, the way they respond to you and your inquiries, the compliments from complete strangers out of nowhere. We are mirrors to each other. I think that's something you say as well quite often. We're mirrors, not windows, right? And so, it's just like, do you want to give yourself the boost? And you control it, right? Nobody tells you what you should or shouldn't wear or can and can't wear every day. I always say it's a tool in your toolbox that you have 100% control over, especially in the corporate world. Sometimes when you're on a team project, you don't have control over everything. You're told what software to use. Maybe you don't know it as well. Like no boss is in your closet saying, wear this today. We dress ourselves, and most people dress themselves to cover their body and go out into public and either keep warm or keep decent. But when you dress with intention, you change the way your brain functions. And I think it's such a powerful thing. And to not do that because somebody's going to chide you about it because you're making them look bad. That's my take on it. It's good, but kind of fun.
That's such a good point. That is such a good point. A dress code is the minimum requirement.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. That is so true. That is so true. I gotta tell a few friends that.
Send them my way.
Yeah.
I got a few friends I'll send your way.
No, please.
So yeah, it's just kind of interesting to tie that back to clothing, confidence, changing, but cementing those behaviors. I've always done best exercising, because we kind of got onto that topic through exercise. I've always done best when I've had a goal. I've run a half marathon. I have zero desire to run a full marathon. I got done 13.1 miles. I'm like, I can't imagine doing that again right now.
Yeah.
But that's why marathon runners and marathon running is such a mental game, because it takes that mental toughness and fortitude to be, to go and do it, whether you're shooting for 2.5 hours or whatever a world record is, or you're, the 6-7 hour finisher and just completing it. Both are just as impressive to me, because I know it's not something I want to do.
Yeah.
I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro to the top.
Oh, no way.
And I did 2-3 months training for that. I was motivated. So I've always found, that a goal motivates me. But then I kind of lost sight of, okay, make that transition into identity. And I'm going to take that away from, our conversation today for sure, as I try to revamp and retool, my physical activity that has fallen off since my wedding, which was the last goal I had. But I guess that's why they call it, like dad body, which we don't have kids yet, so it's not a dad bod situation, but it's like hey, you got happy, right?
100%. I think humans, and sort of to your point on happiness, I think humans thrive with a worthy pursuit. I think it's really hard when people don't have a compelling future, something that they want to move toward. And they did studies a few years ago on happiness, because before, the studies on happiness in terms of finances used to be, they did some really cool, this is what will blow your mind. They used to be, happiness is $70,000 a year. Okay. Those were the studies on happiness. Like anything above 70,000, you're good. And then this researcher that came in, this professor came in, and they did a study where they found it actually isn't the amount of money you make, it's the variance. So it's how it moves. Someone that made 50,000 one year, the next year they made 70, is way happier than the person that made 300 and the next year made 250. Because there's this, I'm moving in the wrong direction. We want to be growing, progress equals happiness, like progress in moving towards something. That's why I think people love marathons. That's why I think people love training for something, because it's a worthy goal. It allows you to move toward it. And it's something that gives us that sense of, I'm getting better. When people don't have that, they lose a sense of meaning for their life, for what they're looking to pursue. And I think as someone who didn't had a season of life where I didn't really have any sort of goals, I was just kind of trying to get through the day. I think meaningful pursuits is like having that thing that you can move toward, having that goal that you could pursue, is the best thing we could possibly do.
When I think to all the times I had something I was pursuing, chasing, an accomplishment I wanted to, expand my comfort zone with, I think I definitely felt the most motivated during those times. And, I wanted to succeed as much as I didn't want to fail as well. And I think there's really, I've read things and been told things of, when you say something out loud to other people, there's more of an accountability that comes with it. So I always try to tell people, hey, this is what I want to do. I plan to do this one day. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I talked about this podcast for the better part of a year, until I finally found a company that could help me put it together. Cause I have no editing. My technical skills are minimal. I mean, I could tinker and figure it out, but I didn't have the time to do that. So, and then I wanted to line up guests, and, I meet a lot of interesting people. Just like we met when you were in Philly. It's like, hey, I could have a great conversation with Juan. I'd love him to be a guest, but it was getting over that hump of making the ask, right? Because you don't want to fail. You don't want somebody to say no. And it's funny because I've been in sales. I've been, running my business 20 years as an entrepreneur, but I got into my business because I had done sales of Cutco knives, which is where my sales training came from in summers in college. And they say, like, most people don't succeed in sales because they don't ask for the sale, because they're afraid of a no, because they're afraid of a no means rejection. And I love to flip that advice now when I talk to people about sales, is like, go for the no, right? The more no's, set a no goal, not a yes goal, and dial till you get the no's. I'd rather have a no than a maybe, right? I'd obviously rather have a yes, but my preference is yes, no, never a maybe, because I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste your time. If it's not a fit, it's okay. I'm going to move on to the next. That's my job. That's the role I'm playing. And I think too many people in that role transition or confuse identity. So rejection of the role to rejection of self, and then they can't get out of it. But that's all some of the stuff I've learned over the years. As much as I know that, when I'm pursuing something new, I still have to like step out of myself and remind myself of that, and almost like coach myself like I coach others. And it's not always easy to do, especially the faster pace you're moving, and the bigger and scarier your goals are. I had a saying at one point. When I was on social media, if you look at my page now, I have an Instagram page, a LinkedIn page, but other than that, nothing. And I got off of it because there was really like a lot of detrimental comparison effects to it, as well as time wasting. But the tagline I had on my Instagram profile was, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. And that was, I just put it out there, put it in the world. And I think that's a cool way to think about things rather than be scared of them. Like you said this in the beginning, right? People that see something that's scary and run toward it as opposed to running away from it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And that's a proponent I've always kind of chased and challenged. So I love the reinforcement and, constant learning, and much of what you say, I know, but it's good to hear it again. And then I pick up that one more little tidbit or two more little tidbits, and I'm like, oh, all right, my toolbox is even stronger now. And it's just such a cool thing. So
100%. I think comparison, like the reason why I think social is so taxing on so many people is because it is a mechanism for comparison. And the challenge is there's always someone that's doing better. There's always someone that has a bigger business, that's in better shape, that's a little like you have an amazing win. You have an incredible month. You have a record-breaking year, whatever it is. And then there's someone that did that 7 times over in so comparing yourself to someone else almost always leads to you feeling worse. Comparing yourself to where you were 6 months ago can show you the path to growth. Can say, whoa, I remember when I had, $600 Canadian in my bank account and I couldn't pay rent. So I had to go into my credit. I had to use a credit card to pay rent. Like, I remember that. So if I can compare myself to that version of me, the version of me now is it's a whole new world. But I think the challenge for a lot of people is that they compare themselves to people they have no business comparing themselves to. And they finally just started flying business class. And then they watch a reel on Kevin Hart that says, I don't even remember what it's like to fly commercial because I've been flying private for 15 years. There's always that next level. It's like, oh my God, I got this new car. I love it. It's like, it's a brand new, like the leather stitching, it's all this sort of stuff. And then someone's like, I just bought my 4th Rolls Royce. And you're like, you have 4? You have 4? You just need one for every day of the week. So there's always someone that is going to be further ahead, that has more, that is doing more at a higher level, whatever it is. And I think if you can compare yourself to where you were 6 months ago and you don't like that answer, something needs to change. Yeah. But if you do like that answer, keep steadfast in your path.
And celebrate it. Celebrate the win along the way. Right.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. We talked about compounding earlier. I love this question. I have so much from EO. I'm like, the last year, 2 years, like EO has been such a wealth of information. I did a leadership course at our Eastern Regional Nerve Conference, which was right before I met you. And you had something that you talked about that night too. If I gave you a penny and doubled it for 31 days, or I offered you $1 million on day one, which one would you take?
Oh, if we're talking about compounding, I think I got to take the penny. I think I'm going to take the penny. What is it, like $29 million or something?
No, it's not that much. I think it comes out to like 4 or 5 million after 31 days. You know, the day 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, you know, it keeps going. But then, you know, it jumps. You know, if it could double every day, you don't have to double every day.
Yes.
Right. And you talked about this, and the slide you shared in our talk was eye-opening about the difference of 1% better every day, which, you know, they talk about in Atomic Habits, and, you know, 1.01 raised to the 365 power ends up being like 34 times better. Right.
Yeah.
But I never thought about it the other way, which is what you shared. 0.99 raised to the 365 power was like 0.0027 or something. It was like 1% better versus 1% worse. And the dichotomy of that, it's so different. So, you know, I've had hard days as an entrepreneur. Like, you know, how am I paying rent today? How am I making payroll? You know, I had days I paid electric bills, you know, 30 days late, paid rent the last day of the month. I had gracious landlords that, as long as I communicated with them, I found they were always willing to work with me. And I always did what I said I would do by the time I said I would do it. And I think that's important, you know, that you're not just stringing somebody along and leading them along, so that builds the grace over time. But you know, I had those days, and the hard days. I remember always saying to myself, like, keep doing the right thing, like keep doing the right thing, and something good will happen. Something good always happened. You know, the day I didn't want to go to a networking event, I was like, just go. I made a great relationship. Or the day I was like, I don't want to go, and I stayed till the end. The last person I'm talking to at that event was always like one of the best things. And it's so much of it is showing up, repetitive, compounding. Just 1% better every day makes such a huge difference over 20 years. And then the outside looks at that and they're like, oh, well, you were a 20-year overnight success. Right. And that's, you know, you don't see the 25 years that Apple barely survived. You see when they, you know, launched the iPod and the iPhone and shot into the stratosphere for valuation, right? Yeah. You know, they were an overnight success. So it's funny, you know, to reflect on things like that. And the outside doesn't always reflect that back to you. So surrounding yourself with like-minded people, other entrepreneurs, people that get it, that are going through it, I always find is a really interesting thing. And when I had the idea to start the podcast, I was like, all right, well, I got to listen to a podcast. I was never a podcast listener. And somebody recommended Diary of a CEO. And, you know, I listened to the most recent episode and I was like, that was freaking awesome. Because it was, I don't know, episode 375 at the time, a little over a year ago. And then I went back and started at 1. And I've been listening to Steve Bartlett's, you know, episode from 1. And I think I really enjoyed the earlier stuff, you know, as much as I enjoyed the interviews that he's brought along later, just because it was fun to hear what he was going through in, you know, 2017, 2018, and the growth they were at just after making that big win for him. But it wasn't like a life-defining, changing moment, you know, and he talks about that. So yeah, it's interesting, the comparison to other people. So I got off all social media for 5 years completely. I opened an Instagram account when we got a dog, so I could make a page for him. He's got more followers than I do, which I don't use it. But I do find I've scrolled a little bit more recently, and then I have to like catch myself and stop. And I'm like, too much time and bad feelings creeping in.
100%. It
hasn't changed in, you know, I've been back on it now 4 years, barely using it. But, you know, in the last 10 years, it doesn't change. And I think it's, you know, probably only gotten exacerbated and worse as algorithms, and they feed you every piece of anxiety that you could ever want,
Yep.
and every piece of comparison that you could ever want that just you don't give yourself credit for. So
100%.
yeah,
100%.
interesting.
That's crazy. It's insane.
Well, we didn't talk about any gentlemanly things. Ish. Yeah. I mean, so, and what I really wanted to bring out of this is like, hey, it's that time of year where everybody thinks about resetting goals and, all right, it's like you said at the beginning, you love this time of year because there's so much reflection, and people get excited about doing it and everybody goes to the gym for 30 days in January and then it falls off, and the regular gymmers, you're probably like thankful when February 1st hits. You're like, oh my God, I can get on the equipment again.
That's the best.
When I was a gym rat, I was that way. I was like, God, just make it through January. Everything will go back to normal. But what I hope people will take away from this is figuring out how to not let that fall off, right? Mm-hmm. How to make that transition, how to see the identity shift, the identity change. And that's something I'll take away from this. But anything else you want to share? I mean, this has been awesome.
It's been awesome. Like I would say in a closing thought would be that most people, glorify the outcome and they focus on, I want that outcome. I want what you were able to achieve. And they undervalue the output that it took to make that happen. And when you look at the people you admire, don't focus on the outcomes they have, focus on the outputs they gave and the things that they did and the activities that they did. I do not care if someone ran a 2:30 marathon or a sub 3 hour marathon. I want to know what their training was like. I don't care if someone has a $5 million portfolio. I want to know how frequently they're investing, what percentage of their income they're investing, what ETFs and avenues are they investing their money in. Like, I think if more people value the output versus the outcome, they would reach their outcomes way more than they could ever imagine.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's hard because people don't share that piece of it, right? They share the success. They share the outcome. They don't share the story along the way often.
100%.
And sometimes people aren't comfortable asking. People aren't comfortable telling. But I think if more people were asking and sharing what you're talking about, I think then you've got better things to compare yourself to or strive for. Because it's not what do I have, what do they have? It's what are they doing? What am I doing? And are we doing the right things that are going to move us forward? And I think forward is key. You feel bad when you move backwards.
100%.
Right? You feel amazing when you move forwards. So even if it's just a little bit every day, going back to your workouts, when you're in the hotel room and it's negative 10 degrees outside and there's no gym, even a 5 to 10 minute workout counts, right? I wanted to ask you that at that point in time. Yeah,
for sure.
365 days, great. Doesn't mean that you're grinding 90 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day. It could be 5-10 minutes and it keeps the streak going.
For sure.
So it doesn't always have to be better than the day before, but it's the output and the consistency that's going to compound over time and get you there.
Absolutely.
And I think whatever goal you're setting, you got to break it down, milestone it, figure out what the steps are to move forward, and evaluate your progress as you're going to make sure you're still on the right track. It's the same thing in business that we do. We do it every quarter. We evaluate it every week. And look where it's taken us over the last 2-3 years for our business. So,
100%.
Moving me into my 20% pure for 2026 with my new transition, and I'm excited to evaluate it along the way and put the pieces in place that are going to make sure that what I leave behind still performs the way it needs to perform. And we're not changing. We're just now building on top of. So can you share one big goal for 2026? Have you thought about it?
One big goal is give everything I have to the clients that I get to work with. Everything. Just focus on the most important event is the one that's in front of me. Yeah. Not get caught up in the how many events or any of the deals or anything. It's just like that is the Super Bowl. That is the Game 7, and just show up and give everything that I can to perform.
Love it. You just unlocked another 30 minutes of conversation about presence and being present and in the moment and what we could talk about that. So maybe we'll set a follow up.
That would be awesome.
6-month check in with each other.
That'd be cool. Yes, please.
I think that'd be fun. But I know you got to run. Really appreciate the time. Want to wish you, your family, happy holidays. Enjoy the time at home because I know you're on the road a lot. And make the most of it. Live in the present with them. And that's what's the saying? Yesterday is the past, tomorrow is the future, today is the present because it's a gift.
That's
right?
what they call it, a gift. Yeah. That's what they call it, the present. Yeah.
Yeah. Something like that. So enjoy that and really, truly appreciate it. I look forward to when our crawls pass in person again. Let's keep in touch in between now and then.
Sounds good, my friend. Thank you for having me.
I hope you guys really enjoyed that conversation with Juan Bendana. He did not disappoint. The energy, I could feel it right through the camera with him. And I'm excited to keep in touch and deepen and strengthen this relationship with Juan. Hopefully bring him back if you guys liked him. If you did, please leave a comment below. We're going to link a few things to Juan's contact and some resources that he brings to the table as well in the show notes. So see the description below. Let us know what you thought of Juan. Let us know what your goals are for 2026. Put it out in public and you're likely to hold yourself more accountable to it because you've put it out there and other people are going to hold you accountable as well. So let us know what you think. Give us a rating. Give us some comments. The interaction from you guys really helps us continue to bring better content. Till next time, I'm Brian Lipstein. This is The Gentlemanly Things, the show not about how to be a gentleman, but the art of living like one. And we explore that one conversation at a time like we just had with Juan. See you next time.